Okay, so the first thing you need to do when solving this problem is do the parentheses first. So that means 8 times 2 is 16. And then 6 minus 3 is 3. And then you have the 6 and the minus 7 at the end. So you can't divide 16 by 3 evenly. So I'm just going to write it as a fraction and then subtract 7. Now here we can combine our 6 and our negative 7. So that would give me 16 over 3, and then 6 plus negative 7 is negative 1. And in order to subtract the fraction, we need to make a common denominator. So I can multiply this one by 3 over 3. So I get 16 thirds minus 3 thirds. And then 16 minus 3 is 13 thirds. For the next problem, there are absolute value bars, meaning there's going to be 2 answers. So we're going to need 2 equations. So 3r plus 4 is equal to a negative 4r, and then 3r plus 4 is equal to a positive 4r. So we need to subtract the 3r to get the 3r's together on both sides, leaving 4, and then you have negative 7r, and then divide by negative 7, and you get negative 4 sevenths is equal to r. And then if you look back up at the problem, and we plug that into the 4r, it's going to give us a negative answer, and you can't have a negative answer for absolute value. So we would call this an extraneous solution. So the next one, we do the same thing as we did in the last one, subtract 3r to both sides, and then you get 4 equals r, and that's a positive answer, and when substituted back in, will give us a solution. So for the next problem, we want to make sure that we do the distribution first. So 3 times negative 2 is going to give me negative 6x. And then 3 times 4 is going to give me 12. And then we're going to recopy the rest of our equation. Then we need to combine some like terms. So we have, it looks like a negative 6 and an x. So negative 6x and x, that's going to give me, oh, they got an eraser there. Sorry about that. Negative 6x and 1x is going to give me negative 5x. And then I'm going to combine the 2 and the 12. That's going to give me 14x. And then on the right side, that has remained unchanged because I haven't done anything with that yet. So I'm going to go ahead and add this 2x to the left side from the right side. And that's going to give me negative 3x plus 14 is equal to 22. Then we're going to subtract 14. And I'm going to get negative 3x is equal to 8. Then when you divide by negative 3, we get a fraction, so our answer is going to be negative 8 thirds. All right, moving on to number 4. We want to solve this equation for t. So that means I want to take this t and I want to move everything away. So when something's being divided, you want to use multiplication to get rid of it. So if I multiply this by x and the left side by x, I'm left with q times x is equal to 4rt. The x's create a 1, so I still want to get this t alone. And because it's 4 times r times t, we want to use division to undo the multiplication. So when you divide by 4r on both sides, you'll get qx divided by 4r is equal to t, which would be your final answer. For number 5, we have an absolute value expression, 2 of them set equal to each other. So we want to make sure that we still check for our 2 answers. So we're going to set 5k minus 1 equal to, oh, that looks really sloppy. Hold on. Sorry about that. 5k minus 1 equal to a positive 6k plus 3. Subtract 5k from both sides. We have negative 1 is equal to k plus 3. subtract 3 from both sides, and you get negative 4 is equal to k. So this is okay to have a negative answer here, because if you look up in your original equation, you have absolute value bars. So if we were to plug in that negative 4, we'd have 6 times negative 4, which is negative 24. And then if you add the negative 24 plus 3, you get negative 21. And the absolute value of negative 21 is 21. So it would be okay to have that answer. For the next equation, we're going to have a negative 6k plus 3. So we have to distribute that negative, and it would be negative 6k minus 3. This time I'm going to add the 6k to both sides. That will give me 11k minus 1 is equal to negative 3. Add 1 to both sides. We get 11k is equal to negative 2. Divide by 11, and k would equal negative 2/11. So for the last problem on the study guide, we want to solve this equation for y, meaning that we want to get these guys, first of all, together, and then make my equation so it says y equals. So one step would be to add 3y to both sides, because we need the y's to be on the same side. That would give us 8y minus 15. So then we can add the 15 to both sides, and that will give me 8x plus 15 is equal to 8y. So I still want to get this y by itself, and because it's being multiplied by 8, we are going to divide by 8 to get the y by itself. So you want to be careful right here, because you want to make sure you divide the 8x by 8 and the 15x by 8. And then we just simplify. So 8 divided by 8 is going to give me a 1, so we're just left with x. You can leave the 15/8 the way it is, and then we're left with y. So your equation is x plus 15/8 is equal to y.